All right, we back. Mercy Sports Talk. We in the building. Let's talk about some Detroit Pistons, and then later throughout the afternoon, I'm gonna close it out with some Detroit Lions videos. All right, but let's talk about who's the MVP of the 2019-2020 season for the Pistons, and who was the most disappointing Detroit Piston as well. We can start off who was the most disappointing Detroit Piston. Excuse me. But hey, make sure you hit that subscribe button, bell icon button, share the video, and don't forget you can always find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. All the links in the description if you need a direct link there to follow me on social media. If you got a business question, inquiry, sponsorship, video question, just want to chop it up for some advice, Twitter's the fastest way, then Facebook, and I'm rarely on IG. All right, but yeah, some of the disappointing people. I think it boiled down to three names. Blake Griffin, just because he was coming off a spectacular season last year, and obviously they tried to play him in the playoffs, and they hurt him for 2 seasons. You know what I'm saying? They could have just let him rest, and then he would have probably been more healthy this season. But, hey, Thon Maker was a huge disappointment. It's a guy that I advocated to get here, and it just seemed that him and Stanley Johnson, wherever Stanley went, hasn't contributed, and Thon still hasn't contributed to the Pistons in a major way, or even scratched, even a little bit of scratch to his potential of being an all-star that Kevin Garnett dubbed him to be. And Luke Kennard is another guy who disappointed this year due to, he had a nice little hot start and then injuries kicked in, man. So to talk about the third, who going to come in third is Blake. Just based off, it wasn't his fault. If he said he didn't want to play in the playoffs, he would have been labeled selfish. He'd have been labeled wasted $30-some million. The Pistons should have protected Blake. You know what I'm saying? They should have just shut him down, let him rest throughout the offseason, and they would have had a fully healthy Blake last year. And imagine a fully healthy Blake, a fully healthy Dre, and a fully healthy Derrick Rose this year. Even with whatever Derrick Rose was this year, he played 50 games, but, we never got to really see them on the court together. And obviously Reggie Jackson never got healthy as well until he went over to the Clippers. And, I'm not sure what they're going to do in the rebuild season, but yeah, Blake comes in third. Nothing because of his character or his effort. It's just that the injury was a big letdown, and he's important to, what we was hoping to be this year. I mean, also you can put in Markieff Morris was a disappointment as well too. He just couldn't stay healthy. I mean, just a lot of guys who just couldn't stay healthy. All right, second, who gonna come in second for me is Luke Kennard. All right, Luke Kennard, he showed some flashes this year. Okay, don't get it twisted. He showed some flashes. It's just that he can't get over that knee issue. He's only 23 years old, but he just can't get over that knee issue. And I just don't understand the problem. It just seems like it's going to continue to be chronic throughout his year. It's probably going to be best for him to be a Jamal Crawford, Vinnie Johnson, Lewis Williams type of guy to come off the bench and give you 25, 30 minutes a night. I don't think you can count on Luke Kennard night in and night out like you can count on a Kobe or you counted on a Rip Hamilton, where you can count on Victor Oladipo when he's healthy. He's just not that player. I think Luke Kennard is going to be a spark plug off the bench. All right, he's going to be able to give you instant offense. He's not going to be a full-time starter. It's just his knee is just not going to allow him to be. And also, when his knee wasn't hurting, it was Reggie Jackson who was studying his growth. When Luke Kennard is healthy and aggressive, he's a solid NBA player. I think he's an above-average NBA player. He can get to the bucket. He can shoot the mid-range. He can shoot the three. He can get his own shot. He's a professional scorer. The problem is with Luke has just been health, and then on the defensive end, can he guard the ops is the biggest question. But for me, I think he showed enough not to be the biggest disappointment this year. And the only reason he's on the list, I believe, with Reggie Jackson being injured this year is only because of injury. Derrick Rose was really pumping him up to be, and giving him confidence to be a great player. And I think he was on his way to being that this season until the knee injury hurt him. And then he's actually was going to come back. For people who didn't know, he was actually going to come back right before the season was canceled. So we was going to get an opportunity to see what he was made of. But he ain't my most disappointing Piston, all right? My most disappointing Piston is Thon Maker, a guy that I advocated, and the Pistons actually did what I asked them to do, go get this dude. I thought he had a worldly talent. I thought he could be an all-star, potentially a superstar. You see him dribble, you see him shoot, you see him able to get to the bucket. You think if he mastered the back to the bucket game, his post game, and get a drop step and and a few go-to moves and work with Garnett, he'd be good. But it just seemed that he ain't really been able to find his tempo, his rhythm in this league. And it's a dude that I advocated for, and he was getting way more minutes at a lot of points in this season before Dre went out. He was the backup center. Then Christian Woods would get a few minutes, and then they would sit him on the bench. It seemed that Dwayne Casey really took a liking to Thon Maker, but it never showed. Every now and again, he would get hot, hit a three, get a block, get a rebound, get a dunk, but he just ain't consistent. I don't know if the development ain't there, the confidence ain't there, or just the will in itself to be a great player. And Don has just not unlocked that. Maybe, it do takes, people, slower to develop than some, but Christian Woods, when Dre went out and they started giving Christian Woods the opportunity, he took the keys to the Mustang and it was it. He took the keys to the Beamer, he was gone. Everything I thought Thon Maker would be, Christian Wood, that came in to be. So Thon is my most disappointing Piston this year. And kind of talk about who's my most valuable player. Second for me is Christian Wood. Okay, if Christian Wood would have played like that a full season that he did down the stretch, and it's not his fault. Once again, we can't blame Luke for his injuries. You can't blame Blake for his injuries, but you can't blame Thon Maker for being sorry as hell this season. But I can't blame Christian Wood on his lack of playing time. Dwayne Casey was refusing to play him, whatever reason that was. I don't know if it was because he kept getting in foul trouble. But Thon, especially when Dre was here, Thon would always get that playing time and not Christian. And once Dwayne Casey figured that Christian could really do it, and he was learning, and I guess it's a practice thing, but what coaches got to find out, a lot of players don't have good practice habits, but when it come time for the test and it come time for the game time, they ball out. And he's seen that. Thon may have been more reactive and more, active in practice, but Christian Woods was the better game time player. But for me, he averaged 13 points, 5.5 rebounds, and some other good stats. He was able to shoot the ball well. He was everything that I thought Thon would progress to this season into. So for me, especially with all the moving parts and pieces that was going this season, Reggie moving, Markieff moving, you could just keep going on and on. Dre moving. Christian Woods was my backup MVP. Like I said, if he played the whole season like that from the beginning, or had the opportunity, he definitely probably would have been my MVP. But Derrick Rose was the MVP this year. He had amazing games. He played 50 games. He missed a few games this season, but he was amazing this year. I mean, in the beginning, he had Luke Kennard confident. He was feeding the ball, unlike Reggie wasn't feeding him the ball in past. And he kind of deterred, Reggie kind of deterred Luke from being aggressive. And Derrick Rose actually fed him. Derrick Rose brought excitement. It was kind of like watching the Pistons in the 90s when you really turned on after Isaiah. You really turned on to watch Grant Hill. Derrick Rose gave us a player to root for. He gave us highlight plays. And he also injected energy into this franchise, and his speed and his ability, his agility, and his ability to finish at the bucket. And he had that game in New Orleans that he went crazy. He gave us something to cheer for our year. And when he couldn't give us nothing to cheer for, then Christian Wood was picking it up and he was balling out. So Derrick Rose was more consistent throughout the year. He had more opportunity. He was more exciting, and he gave us something to watch. You go down there to Little Caesars, you was going down there to watch 2-5. Nobody else really. 2-5 was the one that was providing the sauce for the Pistons. So Derrick Rose was my MVP easily. Maybe if Dre finished out the season and finished strong, maybe he could have been the MVP. Obviously, if Dre, Blake, and Derrick Rose and Luke was all healthy this year, it'd be no doubt in my mind, Detroit would probably be in Orlando. But it was the last year to really keep that kind of core together. I feel that if Blake Griffin was healthy, he probably would have been the one that would have been moved and Dre would have been kept. But, obviously Derrick Rose, he carried the franchise a lot this season. Then Christian Wood, and also you had some other guys like Langston Galloway, who was probably one of our most improved players. So he would be my most improved for people who care. Langston Galloway, he had a great year this year, and I wouldn't mind keeping him around. So let me know what you guys think. Do you differ from my list? Don't forget me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can reach out if you got business question, inquiry, sponsorship, video requests. Keep sharing the videos. Want to make a donation to the channel? Cash App, PayPal in the description. Best way to donate is share the video. Don't forget, Twitter is the fastest way to get in touch with me. Then Facebook, I'm rarely on IG. Other than that, don't forget to check my other channel out, Goodfellas Sports TV, right here on on YouTube. One time for the one time. We gone.